Whoa, before you start shopping on Zillow for a house in Hawaii, there are 12 things that I need to tell you guys about before you start even going down that rabbit hole. So make sure you stick around to get all the details. See you on the other side. All right, guys, like I mentioned in this video, we're going to go over 12 things that you're going to want to be aware of when it comes to purchasing a house out here in Hawaii. Before we get into that, let me quickly introduce myself. If this is your first time here, my name is Patrick Longley. I'm a licensed agent out here in Hawaii and been helping buyers and sellers for the last decade purchase their piece of paradise. So if you are in that same position looking to move or purchase property out here in Hawaii, I'd be happy to assist you. So feel free to reach out to me. I got my contact information right here, or you can directly DM me on any of my social media platforms. With that being said, let's jump into the 12 things you want to know before you start buying a property out here in Hawaii. Number one, fee simple versus leasehold. Now, I can't tell you how many calls I get every single day from people who find me on YouTube or what have you, saying that they found a property, they want to buy it. It's $85,000. It has oceanfront and it's absolutely gorgeous. They'll take it right now, all cash. Now, when I get these calls and I hear that there's a property that they like below 250 grand, that's not a studio, 99.9% of the time, it's leasehold. And I've got a video right here that goes over it in more detail, but generally speaking, what leasehold is basically where you own the structure, but you're renting the land, and there's a limit and a lease expiration date when that lease is up, and you basically have to give the property back. And most of the time, this is not a good investment because it's really a depreciating asset. As that lease starts getting shorter, the value of that property goes down. So it's really not the best investment unless you're basically planning to die in the property and not have anybody to give it to. Then that's really the only time where leasehold actually makes sense. Number two, HOAs. Now, HOA stands for Home Owners Association. If you're going to buy a condo or a townhouse, you will have a homeowners association or maintenance fee, and these fees never go down. They on average go up about 4 to 8% every single year, and it's something you want to be aware of. So if you're buying a property, you want to be educated on, generally speaking, how much that's going to be. Now, on average, depending on what side of the island you're on, you're probably going to be looking at anywhere between $300, $650, $700 a month, and that's going to be on top of your mortgage payment every single month that you have to pay for that maintenance fee. But they can get really high. They can be $2,000, $3,000 plus. So it's something you want to look into, especially if you're looking at those lower price points. Everything looks attractive, but you got to keep in mind that HOA fee. Number three, property taxes. Now, everything in Hawaii is very expensive, but ironically, the one thing that's one of the lowest in the nation is our property tax. Our property tax rate is about, right now in 2022, 0.28% of the assessed value, which is most of the time lower than the actual market value. So it's not like how you're in California where it's based on the sales price, and I think California is 2% plus. It's 0.28%. So basically a quarter point of the assessed value. So it's one of the cheapest in the nation, but that's pretty much the only thing that's cheap in Hawaii. Number four, HARPTA and FIRPTA tax. Now, I am not a tax professional, so by all means, talk to your CPA about this, specifically someone in Hawaii. But in Hawaii, we have a specific tax, and it's actually a tax withholding called HARPTA and FIRPTA. FIRPTA is for foreigners. HARPTA is for people out of state. Now, ironically, if you are a foreigner, you actually have to pay both taxes because you're a foreigner and you're out of state, which is super unfortunate. But if you are out of state, you will only have to pay or have the tax withheld for HARPTA. Now, the HARPTA tax withholding, and that's for out of state residents, is 7.25% of the gross sales price. Now, if you're a foreigner, the FIRPTA tax, you would have a tax withholding after the sale of your property of 15% of the gross sales of that price. And keep in mind, guys, if you are a foreigner, you're most likely gonna have a withholding of 15 plus that 7.25%. Now, as you guys heard, I kept saying withholding. It's not a tax, and they're taking it. What they're gonna do is they're gonna hold those funds till you pay your taxes for the sale of that property, and then they will give you whatever's left back. And the reason why they did this is because back in the day, people were buying properties, foreigners, out-of-state residents, they'd buy it, sell it, and then they would skip town and never pay their taxes. So that's why they force foreigners and out-of-state residents to have this tax withheld until those taxes are paid, and then they give you the rest of the proceeds. Now, if you guys are in need of a good CPA specifically for HARPTA and FIRPTA, I have a great contact, so feel free to reach out to me. Again, I've got my contact information right there, and I'd love to connect you with them. Number five, appreciation of homes. So a lot of people, when they move out here, they're like, man, it is super expensive out here, and it is. But if you are actually on the right side of the fence and you actually an owner of a property, it's a great investment because we're on an island. There's no more space. So the only place for people to build is up. And if they can't do that, we're just generally going to see prices continue to go up because the demand is so high. Everybody wants to live in Hawaii. So on average, you're probably looking between 4 and 6% appreciation on your property every single year, and that's going to compound. And sometimes we have bonker years where we saw anywhere between 10 and 30% like this last year. But generally speaking, we do see that the appreciation of homes in Hawaii is very steady and continues to go up, and we very rarely see a drop off. And the main reason why is because there's so many markets. You have the military market, the Japanese market, the Chinese market, the mainland market, Europe, military. There's so many different markets where if one drops off, you have 3 others to take that spot. So it's a great place to actually invest your money in real estate. Number 6, how long does it take to actually close on a property? Now, generally out here in Hawaii, it takes on average 30 to 45 days once your offer gets accepted and you go through the escrow process. Now, if you're paying all cash, that can be as quick as 2 to 3 weeks. A lot of people are like, why can't I just close in a couple days because I'm paying all cash? Well, there are some stipulations and things that they have to go through, preliminary title report, things that escrow has to do to cover your butt. And that's why it takes, when you're paying cash, usually 2 to 3 weeks. So just keep that in mind if you are looking to purchase a property out here. Number 7, termites. Now, I always tell my clients this, especially ones coming from the mainland who have never dealt with termites. Out here in Hawaii, it's not if you have termites, it's how bad of termites do you have, and is it of structure or safety concern? And that's the big thing to keep in mind, guys, is that when you guys go to buy a house, generally speaking, every lender out here is going to require that you get a termite inspection report. And when they do that termite inspection report, they're either going to say, hey, you have no termites, which is very rare, and if you do, great. Or they'll say, yes, we did see some termites, and you're going to have to get spot treatment, which is usually about $60 to $80 a spot, or you're going to have to tent the place, which could be a couple $1,000s depending on the size of the home. Now, this expense is usually paid by the seller depending on how you set the deal up, but termites is something that we have out here, and it's not if you have termites, it's how bad of termites do you have. Number 8, carports and garages. Now, generally speaking, out here in Hawaii, we have carports, and that's basically a roof with 4 posts. It just keeps your car out of the sun. That's generally speaking what we see on a lot of the homes out here. Now, in the newer developed areas, especially in Ewa, Makakilo, and in those higher price points places, you can have properties with garages. But generally speaking, most properties have carports. So it's just something you want to keep in mind if you're trying to build a man cave or looking for a house that has a garage. It can sometimes be a little bit more slim pickings than what we see on the mainland where everybody has garages. Number 9, design of homes. Now, what I mean by this is the type of homes that are out here. So generally speaking, on the windward side, where most of the homes were built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, these are plantation style homes. And that means that they're going to have single wall construction, that's tongue and groove, and that usually doesn't hold in a lot of cold air or heat. And generally speaking, noise goes through those walls pretty easily. We also have jealousy windows, which we'll see on a lot of these plantation style homes. And additionally, those plantation style homes are on what we call post and pier. And those are foundations that are basically on stilts. That's generally what we see on the windward side. Now, if you go to the other side of the island, again, where there's newer developments, you will see places that are pretty standard to what we see on the mainland. Slab foundations, double wall construction, dual pane windows. You'll have possibly central AC, or what's really popular out here is split AC, where it's basically like a window AC unit that's specific to a room, but it's not a window, it's just on the wall. And it allows you to turn the AC in each room specifically, opposed to cooling the entire house like you do with central AC. And the main reason for this is because electricity is so expensive. So just something to keep in mind in regards to designs. Different parts of the island offer different things, different price points. So it's just something you want to get educated on. And if you're looking for help, again, feel free to reach out to me. Number 10 is flood zones. So out here in Hawaii, we do have hurricane season, and sometimes we get some light floods because it does rain here periodically, but you are definitely going to want to be aware of the different flood zones. So feel free to check out this website. It kind of explains all the different types of flood zones. And the reason why that's important to understand, obviously because your house doesn't want to get flooded, but more importantly is because if you're in certain zoning, you have to get flood insurance. And if you get flood insurance, that can be an added cost, and it can be higher or more expensive because it's more riskier depending on its flood zone. Now, if you're purchasing a condo or a townhouse, generally speaking, those condos or townhomes are going to have a master policy, and your HOA, which usually doesn't cover much, actually goes towards some of those insurances, specifically hurricane insurance, flood insurance, liability insurance, things of that nature. So those are usually covered in condos and townhomes. But if you're buying a single family home and you're in a certain flood zone, you will have to purchase flood insurance, which is an added expense. So something you want to keep in mind. Number 11, different beach life homes. Now, what do I mean by this? So generally speaking, if you're going to live by the beach, there's basically like 3 different types of beach living lifestyles that you can have. You can, of course, if you've got a very large budget, you can live on the beach and basically have the beach right in front of you where you can walk from your backyard out into the water. That's going to be a great living, but also very expensive. And also, of course, you may have higher flood insurance you might have to get. You're going to get a little more wear and tear on your home and maintenance because of the salt that comes through from the ocean. But of course, you live right on the beach. Then the second option is you can live up on a hill and have an ocean view. This is more my preference because you obviously get the view, your house doesn't get beat up as much, and you've got something beautiful to look at every single day when you wake up. And then the third is what I would call basically the flats. Now this is more specific to Lanikai, but lots of different parts close to the water have similar kind of situations. And the flats is basically where you're near the beach, you can't see it, you're not on it, but you're close enough where you can walk to the beach. So those are basically the different types of beach lifestyles that you have. You can either be on the beach, have a view, or be close to the beach where you can walk there. And it's really dependent on what someone's wants and needs are, but those are like the 3 different styles when it comes to living near the beach. And the 12th thing that you're gonna wanna be aware of when you're shopping for a home out here in Hawaii is the different areas. And the best thing that I can suggest is that if you've never been out to Hawaii, or even if you have and you don't really understand all the different areas, because each area offers different things, different climates, different price points, different styles of homes, it's really important to just link yourself up with a realtor who can walk you through that process. Once again, I am a licensed realtor out here, so feel free to call me, text, email me. If you have any questions, got my contact information right here, and I'd be happy to walk you through that process. But generally speaking, you've got like the windward side, which obviously is windy, has some of the most beautiful beaches, but very high price points. You can go to the west side where it's a little bit drier, hotter, but you get a lot more bang for your buck. And you can go to town if you're looking for a little bit more hustle and bustle, but a lot of the condos in Waikiki were built kind of in the 60s and 70s. Are starting to see special assessments. So there's lots of little inner workings of pros and cons of every area, and it's really important you link yourself up with somebody who can walk you through that process and make sure we check all the boxes of your lifestyle that you're trying to create. All right, guys, those are my 12 tips of things you're going to want to be aware of before buying a home out here in Hawaii. Again, if you guys look for any assistance, feel free to reach out to me. Got my contact information right here, or you can directly DM me on any of my social media platforms. And with that being said, I'm Patrick with PatrickLongleyRealty.com, powered by eXp Realty. Hope you guys have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Aloha.